A lot happening. There are protests scheduled. There will be coordinated efforts across the country protesting the immigration stance by the Trump administration, the immigration policies and enforcement. And it's weird, depending on who you're talking to, where the negative comments are coming from. And it's just, and I do think that there is a level of this. I've been very critical of a lot of people. I have political disagreements with people, but I'm not disagreeable. I'm far from perfect. I don't mean it as perfection, but I am always aware that if I want to be in my own mind, I'm never going to convince everyone else. But if I'm going to try to be intellectually honest, you got to give credit where credit is due. I have political differences with Senator Gallego, but he's been a great guest on the show, and where we can agree, we talk about agreements. But I will say this, and I said this during his campaign for the Senate. He ran a brilliant campaign. The way he introduced himself to the state of Arizona was what won him that election. I'm a veteran. And everything he said was true. He's a veteran, a Marine Corps veteran, a combat veteran, lost brothers in combat, big losses, raised by a single mom, knows the sacrifice of the country. My point is, you can't just have a blanket disdain for a group of people because of a political affiliation or a blanket disagreement with them on everything that happens because they are opposite you politically or opposite you in anything. There seems to be this blanket opposition and really, let's be honest, hatred by many people toward this president. And whether you think it's justified or it isn't productive. So there are these protests on immigration policies, and let me give you some of the differences in what I mean. So here is a movement to oppose the early actions of President Donald Trump's administration is taking off online with plans to protest across the U.S. on Wednesday. The movement is 50 protests, 50 states, one day. It's called 50, 50, and 1. So 50, hashtag 50501. Many of the protests are plans at state capitol, the movement and website accounts across social media. Flyers are circulating online, reject fascism, defend our democracy, all of these things. Well, here's another headline. This is also very negative. Mass deportations haven't arrived, but Trump's PR blitz has. The media grab speaks to the challenge that the Trump administration faces as it tries to move quickly to fill mass deportation promises. So which is it? Are they not doing anything? As a matter of fact, part of this says the numbers are a lot like Obama's, that all of this blustering that the president's doing is false, that he's not deporting all these people. He's not successful in his deportation. And yet there's 50 protests going on simultaneously across the country because he is so aggressive that he's a fascist. Do you see the blanket disdain? This is the part of it that is so frustrating. And the reality of what they're trying to do and who has been deported and why they're deporting people doesn't seem to be a part of it. The narrative is, let's put the cameras on people that are yelling and screaming. Let's make sure their voices are heard, whether we agree with them or not. One side of the aisle is going to pump their fist and they're going to say, that's what I want to see and that's what we need to do. And there are others that are going to pump their fist and say, knock it off. You're horrible people. Either way, it keeps us screaming at each other. I just don't get it. I just don't. If the Trump administration, which ran on, and this is where they're trying to defeat the policy. What I mean by that is if you make somebody evil, it wouldn't matter to me, for those of you old enough to remember Charles Manson, it wouldn't matter to many people if Charles Manson from prison wrote checks to charity. He's a horrible human being, and you're not going to give him credit for any good he did because the guy murdered people. Ted Bundy, all of them. And so if you can demonize somebody to the point of being less than human, nothing they do is good. And if something they do works, they just got lucky. This isn't a defense of Donald Trump. It's a condemnation of the way we treat each other. Have we not learned anything? Donald Trump ran for president on an agenda of immigration enforcement. that millions upon millions of people took advantage of American kindness. And many of the people that came here taking advantage of American kindness are criminals that came here to commit more crimes. And the president said, when taking office day one, we will begin to seek out, arrest, and deport people that are committing crimes and known criminals in this country. Is he doing that or is he not? It is, to me, is as easy as that. It's frustrating. And here's the other part of it. And then I'm going to get to a statement from the Phoenix Police Department. Here's the other part of it. The protesters, once again, are sending horrible messages. And it's this. You're wrapping yourselves in flags from other nations, Mexico and other nations. And in this case, specifically what you're about to hear from the other night happened at the Arizona State Capitol, and they were wrapped in Mexican flags. They were wrapped in Mexican flags and chanting, I'll let you hear the chant. I'm going to let you hear what they had to say. No one is illegal. And I'll get to the premise of it. And then I want you to hear a statement from the Phoenix Police Department.
No one is illegal. No one is illegal. Viva Mexico. Viva Mexico. Viva Mexico.
I don't believe that even people that disagree with the immigration policy of this president agree with the premise of what they're saying here. And here's what the premise is. The premise is that we are, all of us, are listening right now, occupy stolen land. So no one is illegal because it's not our land to begin with. It was their land to begin with and their ancestors' land. Therefore, this is stolen land, so no one is illegal. This isn't about immigration. It's about a different thing. Now the enforcement part of this, and how many people agree with that? I don't know how many people out there agree with it, but I don't know that they're not convincing anyone. If you are someone that's hearing this and you're going to these protests and you're a part of the protests, you're not serving your cause well at all. If you are going out to try to convince the people of Arizona, or maybe you're not, maybe you're just out there making demands and planting your flag, no pun intended, and saying this is how it is and we're ready to fight. I don't know. But you're not convincing anyone when you're tying up traffic and lighting off fireworks and doing burnouts in the road and damaging property and stealing police cars and then carrying flags from other nations demanding to stay in this country. It's not working. You're alienating people. You are nothing but angry, and anger never wins people over. But I want to read this statement from the Phoenix Police Department, and you tell me how you feel about it. The Phoenix Police Department recognizes and respects the constitutional rights of all members of the community to peacefully assemble and exercise free speech. Our duty is to ensure the safety of all involved while treating everyone with dignity and respect. I disagree with that, but I'll get to it in a minute. You don't have to treat everyone with dignity and respect. You have to treat people that are obeying the law with dignity and respect. If they're doing property damage, if they're injuring other people, if they're lighting off fireworks, if they're jumping on the windshields of police cars, you don't have to treat them with dignity and respect. It's my opinion. When planned or unplanned gatherings occur, we organize resources and monitor the situation to ensure the safety of all involved as well as our community as a whole. Again, you shouldn't have to ensure the safety of the people that are behaving in an unsafe way and causing damage. I'm not saying you should intentionally hurt them, but their safety is not your concern. It's the safety of innocent people and property that should be the concern. The department created the Public Safety Response Team, made up of officers specifically trained to support large-scale demonstrations. The PSRT, which is that response team, monitors events such as those taking place in recent days and only intervenes to address criminal behavior such as street racing or illegal fireworks that may disrupt peaceful activities, cause injury, or impact public safety, response, and services. Lastly, the Department Community Engagement Bureau has been working to strengthen relationships with leaders of all groups planning to peacefully gather, and it goes on from there. Just wanted you to hear what the Phoenix Police Department was saying in response to this.
Thanks for watching the Mike Broomhead Show. Catch up on Amazing Arizonans, a KTAR News podcast, and click the button in the middle to subscribe.